Murphy means everything to me. He's my little soulmate, my big brother, my best friend, my confidant, my little love. When Hank first told me that Murphy had cancer, it was devastating. And all I wanted to do, and I told my husband, was whatever we needed to do. I didn't care where we had to go or what it was going to cost. Whatever we had to do to save his life or to give him a quality life for as long as we can, pain-free.
It was quite emotional. There's hope out there, but you also realize that this could be something that could take Murphy's life.
The Crofts are a loving and happy family who live in Donegal, Pennsylvania.
When Hank married me, he knew that the dogs came first.
Hank's a veterinarian. His wife Carol works down the road at the pet spa she built. That's right, it's a spa for dogs.
So I developed a concept that the animals actually go on vacation when they board, and they have all kinds of entertaining activities. From the time they get up in the morning at reveille at 5 a.m. until the time they go to night-night at 10, they have a full schedule. This is the room where we have all our water activities and our physical therapy and our whirlpool therapies. And as you can see, the dogs are really enjoying themselves. I'm a little wet.
You could glue the rubber ducky in his mouth.
Carol and Hank had their own pets, a pack of 5 little dogs. Then an Irish Wolfhound named Murphy came into their lives.
When I found out about Murphy, he was at a veterinary hospital waiting to be put to sleep. He had got away from his owner and got hit by a car, and he broke his jaw, and they had to wire his jaw, and they didn't want to put the money into him, and also they felt that he was too big for where they lived. And the Irish Wolfhound Rescue League didn't have room for him. And they asked if I were interested, and I had called earlier, about 6 months earlier, and gave them my phone number and told them if they ever had anybody that needed a home, call me. And within 12 hours he was here. They drove him straight from New Jersey to here. Moved in 24 hours. We were very much in love with each other, and that was it.
And Murphy, when he first came here, I wasn't real thrilled about it because his head's just about the same height as my kitchen counter, and he just likes to scan out everything higher than I'm used to having a pup scan.
When he first came, I looked at him, and he was so huge. He was 175 pounds, and he towered over all the other little guys, and I thought, oh, did I do the right thing? And had a little panic attack, but then after I got to know his personality and we bonded, there was no doubt in my mind.
He's a happy-go-lucky dog, and he doesn't complain. He's a nice dog. He's just big, and you have to get used to that. I've never had a dog that big before.
Carol and Murphy became so close, she put his bed into her bedroom and lies down with him at night to help him sleep.
He doesn't like to sleep by himself, so he'll sit there and howl until I get out of bed and go over to the futon and crawl in next to him.
But after a while, the happy-go-lucky dog began to change.
I first recognized Murphy having problems when we came back one day and he was limping. We'd go on a normal 2 to 3 mile walk every day in our off-leash park, and he was limping, and we jumped on it immediately, since bone cancer is one of the #1 problems with Irish Wolfhounds.
Hank immediately x-rayed Murphy's leg. The news was not good. Murphy had cancer.
Well, when we put the x-ray up and saw it, Carol wasn't right there at that moment. But 2 things that go through your mind is, 1, trying to explain it to my wife, and 2, what we were going to do as far as Murphy.
When Hank told me and verified that Murphy had bone cancer, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that it was happening. Hank gave me 3 options. The first option was to remove the leg totally, which just wasn't, I couldn't do that, and Murphy wouldn't be able to handle it. The second option was to go on a strong drug called Rimadyl and live out his last days. And the third option was to put Murphy to sleep. And it was an awful night that night, trying to make a decision between those 3. I couldn't sleep all night. It was a horrible night. And then the next day, Hank came forward and said, I have another option.
Hank found out about a rare surgery.
The procedure is, the idea here is to save the leg so that we have some supporting mechanism that we don't put a lot of stress on the other leg. Once we know there's no cancer anywhere else in the body, then this procedure can be done.
Murphy qualified for the surgery, but no one in their area performed this type of operation. They would have to travel to Colorado State University.
All I wanted to do, and I told my husband, was whatever we needed to do. I didn't care where we had to go or what it was going to cost, whatever we had to do to save his life. We drove to Colorado because there was no plane that would fly Murphy.
A good friend of ours, Annette, let us borrow her mobile home, and we all went out, Carol, myself, and China.
During the 7-hour surgery, I was an absolute basket case.
Right there.
I got to scrub in and watch and observe, and it made me appreciate even more, the procedure that was done and the complexity of it. Murphy's case, has really opened my eyes up to a lot of things. As a veterinarian, you see a lot of things, but when it's your own pet, sometimes you look at them a little bit differently. And it's being at the oncology department at Colorado and working with Dr. Hamilton. It's a changing field, just as it is in humans. I mean, each day there's some new information. So it's a field I've gotten interested in again. It was quite emotional. You just, there's hope out there, but you also realize that this could be something that could take Murphy's life. Life expectancy of a dog varies on size. And the smaller they are, the longer they live. The bigger they are, the shorter the lifespan. So we know Murphy's lifespan is not going to be 12, 14, 16. Even though there are Irish Wolfhounds that live that long, probably the average lifespan's in that 80-ish range, 7 or 8. So we knew then, do we go all through this for maybe a year or two? We thought it was worth, because he just had so many other things going for him. He was just such a hardy dog. We thought it was worth it.
Once the surgery was over, there was chemotherapy which was administered in Cleveland, Ohio. The Crofts spent $85,000 on Murphy's care.
It was originally $8,000 something for the surgery. Each chemotherapy ran between $800 to $1,400. But yeah, maybe I went a little overboard, but there's nothing as far as financials that I wouldn't do for my pet.
Some people put their money into one thing that they're very interested in. We tend to put our money into our pets, and so there's priorities there. So as long as it wouldn't jeopardize anything as far as me, my wife, or my daughter, we were willing to do what we could.
See it, Mommy? Kiss, kiss. Hey, Mom. Kiss, kiss. Look at Billy and Nala playing. Look at them.
Murphy underwent 6 months of chemotherapy and was cancer-free. The Croft family made immense sacrifices. What they didn't know was that the fight was far from over. Murphy the Irish Wolfhound had undergone life-saving surgery and chemotherapy and was now recovering nicely.
Wonderfully. Wonderfully. The surgery that they did in Colorado State was excellent. He recuperated from that wonderfully. He'd go for his walks and his runs, and he's been doing very well.
Suddenly, things began to change.
Murphy started to become ill again. One of the ways that you could tell that Murphy's ill is he doesn't eat. And he went down on me on Saturday afternoon, and we had him on an IV all night. My husband was up all night doing blood work, and finally on Sunday morning he was so weak that he hardly could get up to go outside in a 24-hour period, and we couldn't take any more chances. And in 15 minutes I was in the car heading down to pick up my sister to head out to see what was going to happen.
Carol and her sister Rose drive over 100 miles to Cleveland to find out what is wrong with Murphy.
Temporary 45-minute appointment in the deck. It could be behind a little bit.
I'm here to check Murphy Crofty. Thank you. Some people come to you and they say, well, he's just a dog, although Murphy doesn't think that. And just put him down and get a puppy. But it's not that. It's a loving relationship. And it has so much more. And it's getting stronger every day.
Murphy has a really high calcium level, and Murphy has a really low platelet count. And there are a few different diseases that can cause that. It's either an acute leukemia, which is really bad, or chronic leukemia, which is treatable, controllable with medication.
Now that we've narrowed it down to 4 possible types of cancers, 3 which are treatable at this time, doesn't mean treatable forever. It means treatable to be able to live a quality life for maybe another 6 months. And I think that's the most important thing to me, that if he's with me, it's quality, and he wants to be with me. But when it stops being quality, then that decision has to be made.
Mrs. Croft and I had a conversation yesterday where we talked about how much we've done for Murphy to this point, and we may be getting to the point where we can't help anymore. And that will be hard for everyone, but she knows that's a possibility, and I think she is preparing herself. Hopefully we won't have to face that just yet.
Every morning when I wake up, I keep thinking, this is it. I have to go in there and I have to hear Dr. Hamilton say that I have to let him go, and I have to prepare myself for that. So I'm trying to get as much as I can get from Murphy and give him as much as I can from second to second. It's kind of hard to understand that just sitting here holding him and the relationship between us is so strong. But we're here and we're together, and this is what counts, because this is really all we have. It's hard. You be good. You be big and strong.
Oh yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
He get up on his own?
We had to help him. Look at his dad.
Dr. Hamilton must now perform tests to find out what is wrong with Murphy.
Give him a little Valium to take the edge off here. Sometimes this is the hardest part, lifting these big dogs up. You want to lift him or the blanket? Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll help you get him off too. Okay. All right. Well, we're all done. Everything went really well. We're sedated right now, and it's going to take a little while for Murphy to recover from that. We got real good samples, about 6 slides. We'll send those to the pathologist. I'm going to try and give them a call tomorrow late in the afternoon to see if I can get a verbal report. We'll get our written report in 2 days, but we'll try and get you an answer tomorrow. And then once we know what we're dealing with, we can decide which way to go. But hopefully tomorrow.
All right.
Hang in there, all right?
Thanks, Dr.
We'll see you
Hamilton.
tonight, Friday?
Yeah, we'll be back about 5 o'clock.
All right.
Thank you. Bye. Two days. 2 days. See how Murph's doing this morning. And see what's going to happen after that. If they find that it's one of the ones that they can treat him immediately and start turning him around so that he'll want to start eating again and everything. So that would be I'd be very excited if he ate.
All right. We do have our results back. It was the worst type of leukemia we could have had. It was an acute lymphoblastic leukemia. That's the really bad one. With the acute lymphoblastic leukemias, only about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 will show any response at all, and it's usually short-lived. If we get extremely lucky, we might get 6 months, and if we get extraordinarily lucky, we might get a year.
As long as I know he's not in pain.
Yeah.
If you were, you would say, Carol, it's time.
Absolutely.
And I trust you to do
Absolutely.
that. And if I can give him some more time, that's fine.
We'll get things going, and we'll have them out to you in a little bit.
Okay. Thanks.
You okay?
Mm-hmm. Prepared for this. Let's see. I'm sorry. I know. I've been preparing for this all day today.
Hello, Angel. You want to go home?
These are his injections.
Okay.
And he had one today, and he'll need one tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. And they're all made up. Everything's labeled, and we have to keep them in the fridge.
Carol decided to take Murphy home and have Hank administer his chemotherapy.
Yeah, they're fine, because actually I just made them up.
I'm not leaving you.
I think these moments with Murphy will be with me forever. Forever and ever. It's been, I think, about 10 days, 12 days since we found out about the leukemia, and we were doing really great.
Well, we're trying to relax him and tell him that he's okay, there's nothing wrong with him. So we want him to know that we still love him and that it's going to be a rough, but we're going to try to help make it through it.
I'm okay. It's, you know, one day I'm crying and one day I'm happy he's getting this far, and next day you wake up in the morning and say, what's going to happen? And all those questions, you know, but he doesn't look, I mean, he just looks maybe a little depressed today. And his leg's a little swollen. I'm a little concerned about that.
At this point, Murphy is doing as well as can be expected. He has his good days and his bad days. He had 2 treatments so far, and at this point, Dr. Hamilton, on his second visit, blood work was great. He felt very good about it. Today, Murphy's having one of those bad days. You know, he had chemo on Wednesday. This is Friday, and he hasn't had a real good appetite. We're not really sure why at this point, whether he's very emotional too. He gets upset. Like if I take blood from him, he won't eat for a day. He gets like ticked off at me. So here's these things you have to deal with. You know, you sort of know your dog, and so we're hoping that he's coming around.
Check your gums. Yeah. A little bit pale today. Yes.
I make Murphy feel better, I hope, and support his illness by being here for him, doing what I can do best in the medical area. And he seems to want me just to be beside him and touching him and rubbing him. At night, if he's sleeping by himself and he wants me next to him, he'll make a little noise and wake me up. And I know exactly what he wants, and I'll go over and lay down beside him.
My mom is a little bit down because she thinks, because the doctors keep telling her, that Murphy's probably not going to make it for the next 2 weeks or so. But I think that he is going to make it. But I'm trying to help her with it because she was crying all last night and everything. So.
No, you don't want anything. Everybody else wants it. The whole experience has been an extreme emotional roller coaster ride for me. And one day I'm down, one day I'm up. 1 minute I'm happy, 1 minute I'm sad, afraid to hope, and just think that next week Murph will still be here. One of the most important experiences and things that I have learned out of this experience with Murphy is to appreciate each and every day that I have with him, and kind of have the attitude an animal has, a dog has. They don't worry about yesterday, and they don't think about tomorrow. They just enjoy every second of today.
Murphy had taken a slight turn for the worse. The Crofts assumed that surgery to repair a disc in his spine would take care of the problem. He was sent to Cleveland for the procedure.
He was actually doing really well. He was gaining his weight back, and he was eating everything, and he had his attitude, and he was playing with his rawhides, and the only thing that he couldn't do was walk. So we were hoping that the disc would take care of it. We didn't realize that everything else was going on.
It spread into his back and then put pressure on the spinal cord, and he developed paralysis.
The cancer had spread throughout Murphy's body. He would never walk again.
So the decision was made to, let Dr. Hamilton put Murphy to sleep right then. It's all sort of a surreal sort of situation because we all expected him to come back. he's fought through so many things. Last thing I thought that something was going to happen that day, that he would not be coming back. But that obstacle he didn't make.
The hard thing is when it comes to the end, sometimes it hurts you almost as much as it hurts the owners. And that can be a little tough sometimes. But that's when you go home and you give your kids a hug and your wife a hug.
Oh, it's very difficult. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm sorry. It's still hard to talk about. Yeah, but it was the right decision for Murphy. And that's what was most important. It was easier to come to terms with his loss, knowing that we did everything possible that was humanly possible. It's a little odd because I still see him everywhere. Like I can look down this little lane here and I can see him running. But we're getting used to it.
I know he's out of pain and up with our other dogs that have passed away lately, so.
We were talking about that. We were seeing the little dog angels all over the place hanging out. I think that if the dogs were sitting at the pearly gate of heaven waiting for their masters, that they would sit there for 1,000 years or whatever time is right there. But I know that what keeps me going is to know that I will see him again someday.
Up next, Emergency Vets is coming to rescue you on Animal Planet.
Watch the vets at Alameda East take animals over the tough hills of injury to the healthy road to recovery.
From bandaging wounds to broken legs, the vets have the prescription for happy pets. Next.
And dig up Animal Planet at discovery.com.